Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about stress, and I wanted to bring up this topic because I am currently in the process of moving, and not just moving down the street, I am moving to a different town. And so along with that comes a lot of packing, cleaning, adjusting. We got move out inspections, all of the stuff. And if you've ever moved before, it can be very stressful. And there's a lot of anxiety that happens to trying to get things done in a timely order. And so quick little update. I am moving, as I said, to the Bay Area, and I have already helped Brando move up there so that he can start his career, and I'm kind of just phasing out my clients right now the next 2 weeks. And I took a look at the apartment, and we got most of the stuff packed up, but then I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. A lot of cleaning, and me, I'm a very go person, and very I'm always moving, I can't stop. And so in my head, I was going through all the different things that I had to do, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just need to do all of it at once, and just started stressing, and it felt overwhelming. And so I thought that this would be a really good time to bring up the topic of stress and our mindset around stress. So that is what our conversation is going to be about today. And I hope you guys have some takeaways from this, some things that you can learn on how to manage stress, how to change your mindset around stress, because stress doesn't have to be bad. And that's the thing, is people think of it as debilitating and reducing our ability to function and do things. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video, but let's get into it. Alrighty, so stress. Does it work for you or against you? Now, we always hear that public message that says stress is bad. We hear that word and we think, ooh, stress, right? That is harmful on our health, and we focus on the damaging consequences of that stress. But if we actually define stress, it is encountering adversity or a challenge. And taking a deeper dive into the literature and the origin of stress, the body's response to challenges, it was designed to enhance our abilities. So stress can narrow our focus and increase our attention. It can also increase our ability and the ability to process information. It's part of our primal instinct. And so when we are facing a challenge, we can either view it as a threat or we can view it as motivation. So taking those two different mindsets. And there's a couple research studies that I'm going to be going over with you guys today that are very, very interesting. And they kind of take those two different mindsets and they look into how people react and based upon how they view that stress, and then how it can also enhance our motivation. And in some of the research that they found that even the most traumatic experiences or chronic situations where stress was experienced, it actually enhanced their connection to value and connection to others and a sense of passion for living. So instead of it being this detrimental thing, it actually gave them a purpose. And so I'm really excited to go over these studies with you guys, and I'll link below where you can go and find more information on these because they're very, very interesting. And it kind of gives you a different perspective rather than the general outlook that stress is bad. So let's go ahead and go over those research studies. Now, before we go into these research studies, I want to preface with just mindset around stress in general and the response to that stress. So if you're viewing stress, do you view it as a threat or a challenge, right? If the stressor is a challenge, the body and brain respond to it more adaptively. But if you're viewing something as a danger or a threat, you're more likely to run away from it or disregard it. And so it's really a question of, do you view stress as a danger, or do you view stress as something natural that can enhance us? Now, the first research study I want to go over was done by Dr. Alia Crum, Peter Salovey, and Sean Aker. Hopefully I'm saying all those names right. And they studied people's mindsets around stressors using very simple questions, just as how do you view stress, and just simple things about the topic in general. And they found that in a correlation of studies that a more enhancing mindset about stress was linked to better health outcomes and higher performance. And they then set out to see whether they could change people's mindsets if they viewed it as like a threat. And in their first test, they created multimedia films that showcase research and facts about stress that were all true, but just focusing on those different mindsets. And so they would show one film that showed stress as being very debilitating and reducing function and hurting you. And then they showed other films that were enhancing and uplifting. For example, they showed a film of LeBron James making the free throw in the last minute and making that free throw rather than missing it, right? So using that stress to enhance and have higher performance. And with that, that film showed the body's response to stress and how it's designed to adapt and help grow and heighten performance. So over the course of multiple studies where they had some participants viewing the videos that were debilitating and hurtful, and other participants viewing the videos that were enhancing and uplifting, they found that those who watched the uplifting videos began to shift their mindset around stress. And they showed signs of fewer backaches and less muscle tension and less insomnia for sleep. So overall, through these studies, they found that changing that mindset around stress and viewing it rather more just as natural and an experience rather than something that is bad, they were able to, one, not have it debilitate them or reduce their ability to go through their day-to-day life, but they were able to learn from it. And so that's just one study that was done over a couple different researches. And so the next study, also done by Dr. Alia Crum, is very, very interesting as well. She goes a little bit deeper into how an enhancing mindset is something that can really, really peak your performance, and viewing it more so just as an experience rather than being something good or bad. Because when we connect it to being just good or just bad, we're just putting a label on it and we're having this perception about it, right? But looking at it as just an experience that could, yes, maybe be a little bit debilitating, and maybe it's not a good circumstance or not a good situation. But if we have a different mindset around it and we're using it as motivation to move past that bad or chronic or traumatic experience, it can be a huge game changer. Now, the second study that Dr. Alia Crum did was working with Navy SEALs. And this was really focusing on the mindset that stress pushes us forward, right? We see it as a challenge. And they studied the recruits going into the basic training. And if you know anything about like the Navy SEALs and BUDS, it's the most difficult and rigorous program there is to go through. And only about 15% of the recruits who go into basic training complete the training and become a Navy SEAL. So it's very, very intense. And they were finding that those people going in as recruits all kind of had the same enhancing mindset around stress. And they also found at the end of the study, so they started with the beginning of the training with all the recruits, seeing what their mindset was around stress. And those who had that enhancing mindset were more likely to complete the training and become a SEAL. So they all viewed that as being a challenge and motivation to push harder, because if they didn't, then they would fail out and they wouldn't become a SEAL. So that's just another example of using that stress to drive you and become better. And so, as I mentioned before, stress is neither a good thing or a bad thing. So although I gave you a bunch of examples of stress motivating us and pushing us to be better, don't take that I'm saying it's a good thing to be stressed, because there is also bad stress and being in a situation that's not great, right? So like even with the SEALs and their basic training, they're doing that training so that they can go into a dangerous situation that's not good, right? But they're using it as motivation. Their mindset around it is enhancing rather than freezing. And so along with that is just remembering that stress is an experience, right? So either we freeze, fight or flight, or we utilize it. So my personal example of moving, definitely not the same as going through SEALs training, but dealing with moving, my first initial experience is worry, right? So worry that I don't have enough hours in the day to clean, pack, and do all of that on top of working and training. And on top of that, I begin to stress about stressing. And that's the funny thing. It's almost contradicting, because we a lot of the time start stressing about something and having so much worry and anxiety around something that we stress about stressing. And that doesn't even make sense, right? It's crazy. And then second experience after I start stressing about stressing is the action I take, right? So am I going to freak out, or am I going to check out? Am I going to just be like, it's too much, it's too overwhelming, I'm just not going to do it, I'm not going to pack, and wait till the last minute, which isn't good either, right? So how do I change my mindset around that to make it enhancing, to make it more motivation? Well, I could strategize. I'm in a stressful situation, so I'm going to strategize and make a game plan. I'm going to take this time to designate a day to each room and clean that one room, pack that one room on one day. I'm not overwhelming myself. I am getting something done and I feel accomplished, and I'm using that motivation to get that done so that I know I'll feel better about it rather than pushing it off. So overall, I want to bring it back to just the key concepts of this. So either we're viewing stress as debilitating, a threat, danger, or we are viewing it as enhancing, motivation, higher performance, right? So key takeaway number 1, how do you view stress? What is your mindset right now about stress when you hear that word? Number 2, stress is neither good nor bad. It's an experience followed by reaction. So whatever your mindset is around stress and what you're experiencing, you'll then have a reaction and take action. So however you view it first is going to determine how you take action after. And then number 3, you have the ability to change your mindset from debilitating to enhancing. Either you can look at the stress, look at the anxiety, the worry, and let it consume you. Or you can switch that mindset. You can learn from it. Taking a moment and thinking, okay, I'm stressed, but this is just a feeling. This is just an experience. So where am I going to go from here? Am I going to allow this to freeze me? Or am I going to strategize and take action? You can always ask for help too, right? Ask for other people's perspective. Because a lot of times we get so inside our own head and we start thinking of all the different possibilities, all the things. And it's like if you guys have ever watched SpongeBob, which I hope you guys have because I love SpongeBob. I don't care how old I am. The episode where he forgets his name when he becomes the fancy waiter for Squidward, and he forgets his own name, and they're all inside his brain looking through all the file cabinets, freaking out, being like, what's his name, what's his name? And everything's on fire.
Name! Come on, baby, what's the name? We threw out his name!
That's what happens when we start stressing about stress and not really taking a moment to take a breath and think logically and be like, okay, you know what? This is just a feeling that I'm experiencing. It's here, it's coming, and it's also going to pass. It's temporary. So overall, I hope that you guys have taken a little bit away from this. If anything, just knowing that it's not good, it's not bad, it's an experience. And you have all the power and the ability to change that mindset. The mind is so, so powerful, and we can control a lot of it. So I hope you guys took something away from this. And I'm going to be creating more videos where it's just information like this, key takeaways, some things that you guys can do to help yourself, your health, your overall function, daily life, all of it. So if you guys liked this video, please hit subscribe, click that like button, and look forward to more informational videos with some backed up research that you guys can do on your own. And also please go ahead and visit my website, and I have some programs on there that will be very informational for you. Mindset coaching. I also do all of the nutrition coaching and online personal training. So go ahead and don't forget to subscribe, and look forward to the next video.